schedule thrown off. I have this little pool of water in the woods. It's not really a pond, and it normally gets like maybe a foot of water, 2 foot of water at most, and then it just dries up. When it rains, it'll fill up with water. It might have water in it for maybe about a third of the year, and about 2/3 of the year it's dry. Until I dug it out and built the dam up bigger on the low side of it. And then it got to where it stayed full of water, or not full of water, but would have water in it about half the year, maybe more than that. But it's gotten really low to where it maybe had 5 gallons of water in it, maybe 10 gallons of water. There's a lot of mud, and it's hard to really to tell. Actually, I pulled water out of it, and it probably had, I don't know why I said that, because it probably had 15 gallons of water. Because I had about 2 5-gallon buckets of water I pulled out of it. Because I'd put 5 mosquito fish in there, and they multiplied in the thousands. There's so many of them just being in there in a year. And since the water level got low, they were all on the edges trying to get oxygen. Hey, Wade. And so I wanted to save the mosquito fish. I didn't want them to like run out of oxygen. But there was a whole bunch of raccoon tracks going to that water hole eating them, because it's kind of like shooting turkeys in a barrel or whatever. The raccoons could just grab them and eat them. But I rescued thousands of them out and put them in my pond. But I left about the last 20 or so in there. Maybe it'll fill back up with water at the end of the week, or maybe raccoons will just keep eating the rest of them, and the raccoons can have the rest of them. I don't care. I saved most of them anyway. And well, there was a reason I brought this up. I don't know why I brought. Oh, I don't even know. I was in the woods planting little oak trees that I sprouted. I put the acorns in the refrigerator I kind of forgot about them. Maybe they were in there for about 3 months. And I just had damp soil and crushed up oak leaves and a bunch of acorns in there. And in about 3 months' time, they had sprouted and they had roots coming out of the acorns. So I moved them into some pots of soil. And then when they got the leaves on them and everything, I kept them near a water hole that I have to water them. And today I went through the woods planting these trees. And I found out I got more property. Like, I know how much land I have acre-wise, but I didn't know there was that much land between the dirt road and where I had been digging the canal, because I hadn't been out there and really just looked everywhere, because there's a lot of fallen trees and briars, and it's just a hard part of the woods to get through. You got to like crawl up under stuff, go up over stuff and everything. And I found it looked like a big metal shield. I don't know what it is. I found that. It looked like I found a cinder block. Well, not a cinder block. It's shaped like a cinder block, but it was made out of clay, like a brick shaped like a cinder block in the woods. And I don't know. I found a big old tree that I could build a tree house in. But Ravenheart was talking about how some old people he said they talk about before there was cell phones, and he said y'all had other things though, like dinosaurs. And I lived before cell phones and before beepers. I was born in 1987, and he's joking, but dinosaur toys were very popular. The Land Before Time movie had come out before they made like 8 sequels or something. And a lot of us did have dinosaur toys. But when I was a kid, I was at my Granny Gail's, where she's got chickens again. But back when I was a little boy, they had chickens before they got rid of them and got hogs and other things. And I didn't really see it very well. But in my imagination, I thought I had seen like a little dinosaur or something running through the woods, but I think it was like a turkey or something, and I didn't see it good, and I just kind of heard it and it moving, and my imagination run wild. But sometimes I wonder, like they're finding more and more dinosaurs with soft tissue in them. Who knows? Maybe a few of them are out there, you know. I doubt it. I don't think that we were alive. We're not that old. Cell phones haven't really been out that long. And none of us really live very long. And it's very tragic in a way. You know, I forget the poet. I'm trying to remember who it was, but he said, we complain about the shortness of life, but we really have enough time. We just we waste a lot of it, you know. But you know, I can plan things. We can know to plan things out for thousands of years, but we can only live 100 years. You know, it wouldn't be, I just think it'd be really cool if I could live 10,000 years and I could watch oak trees grow up and crossbreed this oak tree with that oak tree and this olive tree and you know, but we can't do that. I've been watching a lot of videos on forest and how they retain water in the soil and how they prevent drought. And I've been watching a lot of videos on turning deserts into forest and how to raise water tables and everything. And there's a rat running around. They're trap and get him. Who wants to live forever? Well, I wouldn't mind it. Like, there's a lot of people that say, you know, that they don't want to live forever. But if you had asked me in my early 20s when I was kind of depressed and all, I'd have been like, oh, I don't want to live forever. But my life is great now. And so it kind of changes my attitude about it. You know, we're always just, almost anything we do is just to fill up our days. There's not really a lot of, like a lot of it is kind of pointless in the long run. And we're just entertaining ourselves and filling up our time. But me, I don't think I'd ever run out of stuff to do. When I go out to my property, there's always more and more I could do to improve it. There's always more fruit trees I could plant. There's always more. There's just, I don't know if, who wants, we need to save the wild Chickasaw plum trees. We do. I think, you know, it's kind of, I get called an idiot a lot, stupid on Facebook, social media and stuff by people that are like, you know, when you do a math problem, you do the multiplication and the division before the adding and the subtracting. You know, you do what's in parentheses and your exponents, you know, the order of operations, right? And so there was this math problem, and I was right about it. It was like, what's 3 times 3 plus 3 minus 3? And I had the right answer, and I had people saying that I was wrong and everything. And if they would have took the time to just Google it or use the calculator, they would see that I was right. But they're calling me stupid, and they're the one, and I'm not being mean to them. I'm not calling them stupid, but I'm right about the answer. And there's a lot of times the people that are ignorant and don't know what they're doing outvote the people that do. And the skills to come to power are not the same skills to rule once in power. And there's a lot of things, like as far as the water table, you know, like the way we're farming and everything, we're going to turn this whole continent into a desert if we're not careful. We keep dropping our water table. We keep mismanaging forest. We keep stressing, you know, making a lot of animals and plants go extinct that we could have saved. And if people have an emotional attachment to an animal, like a dolphin or a koala, it's going to survive. But people don't care about the bugs. They don't care about the flying insects. They're like, kill them all, you know, but they're part of the food chain. And so we drive around in cars at night with lights that attract the bugs to fly straight into our vehicles, where we're just like, we're just slaughtering them en masse. and the biomass of flying insects has dropped dramatically, and people are like, why are the birds going extinct? You know, and I agree with Wade. We need to save the Chickasaw plum trees. So, wow, is that like a hog plum? I think, it's a lot of these plants and animals, we haven't even figured out what they do yet. We're finding medicines and all kind of plants that we thought were just useless weeds, and a lot of the plants that we just kill, we're like, oh, that's a weed, spray it and kill it. Uh, it'll be the cure for a cancer, and then we'll spray a cancer-causing poison on it to kill it. They have to grow in sunlight. Today's forest management is not good for wild plums. They're limited to forest edges. There's a lot, this is something that it's natural for there to be a succession where you start off where you've got like a grassland, and then you get these tall weeds, and then you get these like pines and evergreens start to grow, and then as the mulch piles up and everything, then you get your hardwoods, and then once you get enough hardwoods, you're able to have the type of funguses, the type of mushrooms to build the network to allow the super giant trees that we've made almost go extinct on the whole planet. And then once you get and then eventually, it goes in a cycle from grassland to forest, from forest to grassland. It's always changing in a cycle. And the way we do agriculture is we try to keep it at the grassland stage, the annual crops. And we really need, just like how we rotate 1 year crops, we should be rotating forest and grasslands. It's not meant to be a forest forever. It's not meant to be a desert forever. We need all these biomes. We need all these edges and these different niches. And there's a lot left along the railroad in Wheeler County. There are a lot. Like I noticed when I walk the railroad in Wheeler County, I see a lot of persimmons. I see where deer have took a shit and shit out a bunch of persimmon trees in groups, and then the trees start growing from the. I think a lot of deer are spreading a lot of seeds on the railroads because they're avoiding cars, and they're walking along the railroad. And I have seen a lot of fruit trees along the railroads too. Wade Purvis, and hey, Jasmine Lee, and Mind Haven. And back about that question about who wants to live forever, it depends on the quality of your life. If the quality of your life is good, everyone's like, yeah, keep living. And if it's not good, then people don't want to keep living. And a lot of the quality of life depends on how much power you feel you have to improve your life. Like someone who's like just feels powerless and is a slave and is oppressed, they're not going to want to live forever. I do think it's sad that there's a lot of people that are not enjoying life. I do think that, and you can really be in the same exact environment and situation, and it not be the same environment and situation because of your attitude or your mindset. And you can really improve the quality of your life very quickly by just changing your perspective. I see. You know how persimmons, they have the bark on the persimmon tree grow. A lot of times they grow straight up like a pole, and the bark will be kind of rough, where you've got these vertical cracks and horizontal cracks in the bark, like it's textured, like deep. You know what I'm saying? It's like. And so I was looking around at my property, and I thought I saw a persimmon tree because the bark was like that. But then I looked at the leaves, and it was a black willow tree, and black willow trees have that textured bark too. And I've got different willow trees in the valley in my woods, And the black willow grows a lot taller than the mother willows. It doesn't branch as much as close to the ground. It has a longer trunk. And I was kind of disappointed because I thought I'd found me two or three different persimmon trees, and they were. What I like about a persimmon is that the fruit gets ready late in the season, like in the right before winter or in the winter, like when it's cold. But my granddaddy Brown, and he used to have two persimmon trees, and one of them just never made fruit. I don't know why, but the other one did, and it would make a lot of fruit. And the thing with a persimmon is it's super sour and bitter until it's ready. And when it's ready, it's so sweet, it's so delicious, and you got to eat it right then because in a day, 2, maybe 3 days, it's going to rot. It doesn't have a long shelf life. It goes from too sour and bitter to eat to being absolutely delicious and then rotting like right away. So I don't think we'll ever see like a bunch of persimmons in the store to eat because they just don't have the shelf life. But I would like to have some. And I saw somebody, I was very sleepy and I hadn't slept that night. And I got up early that morning and I saw somebody selling persimmons for $2. And they said, you can pick them, and they're somewhere in Alamo. And I texted them, and I'm like, is this still available? And they said yes, but I had fallen asleep or something. And I never went and got them. But I want to get them for the seeds because I'd like to grow some persimmon trees. And I'm thinking, I don't know how long it takes for them to grow, but since they're a stone fruit, they probably don't take very many years before they start making fruit. A lot of stone fruits grow pretty easily. Yes, plenty of persimmon trees, deer, possums, coons spread the seeds. I was reading the comments. But I like them. I know when I ate one before they were ready when I was a young boy, and they were sour, really bitter, probably more bitter than sour. And so I thought they were just terrible. And then I tried them again when they were ready, like where you get them where they're on a tree and you just touch them and they'll fall off real easy, and they're sweet and they're really good. But I've seen that my Uncle Pal, he had a cedar tree, and he's in his old age. He's a Korean war veteran. I think he died recently, really. Uh, it's like a Mandela effect. It's a weird one because it's like I could have sworn they told me he died, and then we went and visited him, and he's still alive. But I think now he might have really did die. But I think he might be alive. I need to go see if he's alive or dead. But anyway, him and his wife has this big old cedar tree that they planted when it was just little, and people told them that they would never live to sit in the shade of a cedar tree, but they did. And I've noticed that when you plant trees, like people will plant a field of pecan trees or pine trees or any kind of tree, and you'll watch them, and like 10 years later, some of them trees are 3 times as tall as some of the other trees. It just depends on the quality of soil, if they find water, the genetics of the tree, and everything. And soil is a living thing, and there's a lot of things, a lot of factors that come into play with soil. And like these redwood trees that grow so gigantic in California, they plant them in Britain. There's probably more in Britain now than there is in California. But if they don't have the right funguses in the soil, if they don't have the other right trees around them, they won't grow as big. Even if you give them as much time, there's optimal conditions, and a lot of trees' growth gets stunted by a lack of water. But on my property, about 8 years ago, there was a lot of little cedar trees growing, and I went and I was just looking around everywhere, and I noticed that a lot of these cedar trees had just grown super fast, way faster than I expected. And I know in Glenwood, where I had seen some little cedar trees growing around a cedar tree, they just grow so much slower. So it's really about, and like a Brazil nut in the Amazon, those trees, you can't just plant them by themselves and then make nuts, they have to be around certain other types of trees that can support different types of insects and different kind of things that are needed. Uh, like they need certain birds and stuff around them, and bats and beetles and bees and funguses and all kind of different things that different trees need to get the right fertilizer and get the right pollinators and everything. You can transplant wild plum and persimmon trees in the fall when they are dormant. Persimmon season is late in September to November. And we're in zone 8B. So when Wade Purvis is saying September to November, we're in Wheeler County, Georgia in zone 8B. So for here, September and November. I remember they told me, it's better. You want to transplant trees when they're dormant, when the sap's fallen and it's stored in the roots or whatever. It's a much better chance of surviving and all. Sometimes you can get away with transplanting them at the wrong time of the year, but I wouldn't strip too much. I would try to get as much soil around the roots as possible, and really I wouldn't do it. I would wait till they're dormant. But I did successfully dig up, which it's probably different for evergreen trees. I would imagine it would be. But I dug up a pine tree in the summer in Georgia and moved it to Texas, and they said it wouldn't live, and it did. But I was babying it and taking care of it. What's up? I'm just going live for no reason. I've been staying up later and later and later and later, and I got my sleep schedule all messed up. It's hard for me to sleep, and I should, I guess, try, but I don't know. I decided to go live for a second. Haven't been live in a while. Haven't been making as many videos lately. I've got a lot done, though. I don't know. There was a few things I had thought about talking about, but I decided not to because, I don't know. I guess I'm just. This name seems very familiar, but I don't really remember what stream we were on with Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia? You can plant potted trees year round, but bare root trees are better in the fall. Like a lot of times, if you get trees that are not, a lot of the potting soils that they put these fruit trees in hold a lot of water and can cause root rot. So that's kind of a good thing about bare root. But then I get mixed. Like people tell me different things. Like some people say you want bare root, and some people say you don't want bare root. And I bought 4 different black walnut bare root trees, and only one of them made it. And I don't know if I was watering them too much or not enough, but 3 of them died and one of them made it. And I should probably buy some more of them. Black walnuts do not like apple trees. Apple trees don't like black walnut. They try to go to war with each other. The black walnut it gives off something from its roots to try to, I forget what it's called. Solacine or something. Anyway, something that'll just kill an apple tree. The apple tree wants what it needs, so it don't want no apple trees around it. There's other plants that'll kill too. A black walnut, I don't know if I'm remembering this right. I think they don't like tomatoes or anything in the nightshade family either. But I don't know. I might be mixing that up. I'm gonna go for a short walk outside for no reason, and then remember how cold it is out there. It was kind of cold in here to where I was thinking about making a fire, but then I was like, nah, I'm not gonna waste the firewood. And then it's warm. It's later on into the night, and it's warmed up. It's not as cold as it was earlier. Cool. I wasn't not really cold. Sometimes I come out here and the air is great, and sometimes down the road they burning garbage. And not just garbage, like plastic, rubber, chemicals. I hate that shit. I don't care about the CO2. Please increase CO2. Please increase CO2. Plants grow faster. Just use it to make sugars and give off oxygen. Please have greenhouse gases. Please. Longer growing seasons, more rain, more food, more freedom, more life, more biosphere. So I ain't got a problem with no CO2. But burning rubber, burning plastic, all that's different, you know. My camera can't pick it up. My old phone could do it, but this phone can't do it. I dropped my good phone in the pond. But I was trying to show the stars. There's Orion right there. I have a grown pile of black walnut trees for seed. There is a seed tree close to your house. Oh, I would look it up, but I imagine a black walnut, it might be kind of like, is it kind of like acorns? Like it's got to go through a cold period to sprout? Maybe not. But where you're, I think I remember when you used to live across the street from me, that I went over there talking to you one day and you pointed out a black walnut, but now them other people live there. And I don't want to just, Brittany's friends with the woman that lives there. Vern, I think is her name. But I don't want to just walk up in there and be like grabbing black walnuts off the ground or nothing. I'd have to. But I would like to try to, because black walnut, one, I love black walnuts. Granny Gail says she just likes English walnuts. She don't like black walnuts, but her daddy like black walnuts. But I like the flavor of, I like English walnuts too. But I like the flavor of a black walnut. I think they're better. But there's another good thing about a black walnut is the hull on the black walnut kills parasites. It's a dewormer. So if everything, you know, if there was to be some big social collapse or something, you still deworm the dogs, still deworm people. It's good to have the black walnut stratification. I might have said that wrong. Stratification. No, I probably said it right. The seed tree is up the road. It's starting to get cold out there. Not very cold, but a little bit. If I would have ate more today, I wouldn't feel cold. These, you still own the land across the road from me? Yeah. What, are you renting it to them? I thought they bought it. But, it's because I didn't have shoes on. I stepped on some wet ground. That's why I got cold. I'm trying to remember. Them lavender seeds, every time. You got to get them cold. And I've tried so many times to sprout lavender seeds, and I have failed every single time. And I was watching a video today that said something that the other videos didn't say. You do have to cold stratify them, but you got to plant them when the temperatures are above 70 degrees. And so you got, so I've been, I need to wait to put them in the refrigerator till it warms up. And really, I'm probably just going to make cuttings off of them and root them. It'll probably be a lot easier than trying to grow them from seed. But they make thousands and thousands of seeds, so it'd be really cool if I could get them to sprout from seed. There's a type of lavender called autoquaste or something like that. And the honeybees seem to love it more than all the rest of the lavender. And I have learned that here in South Georgia, it is so much easier to grow Spanish lavender than English lavender. I do have a few English lavender plants that lived, but most of them died. But every time I plant Spanish lavender, it lives. It does well. And it's good for the bees. It repels mosquitoes. And lavender sells for a pretty good price. And if you look in nature, anywhere where on the like a little past the drip line of trees, there's normally bushes and herbs and stuff. It's never just, trees grow closer together than we plant them. Really, if you don't put a bush on the edge there, something's going to try to grow there anyway. So you might like I started saying, well, why don't I just put blueberry bushes around, the edges, like a little past the drip line of my peach trees? Because if I don't, blackberries just try to grow there anyway. So why not use that space for blueberries that don't have thorns? And I've been watching a lot of permaculture videos, and I've been experimenting a lot. And I know it looks like a lot of my trees are planted too close together, but I'm doing the method where you prune the trees back and you don't let the tree produce a fruit like that's higher up than about 7 foot, like where you can reach up and grab it, where you'll have no ladder work. Oh, I just got scorpion pepper in my eye. I had it on my hands from when I was eating and I forgot. Ooh. It's not that bad because what happened is I've run out. It's really good hot sauce. It's very spicy. The scorpion pepper, I'm trying to think of the brand name. Woodstock. And it's almost as hot as ghost pepper. You really can't. Once it gets that spicy, you can't tell the difference. I run out of it all the way. And I took some vinegar from some jalapenos and put it in the bottle and shook it back up. And it's spicy, but not as spicy as it was before. And I ate some of it on a burrito, and I had it on my hands. I just touched my eye. If I would have had it straight, hot sauce, it would have burned a lot more than it is now. I'll be all right. I want to forget what I was talking about because the hot sauce in my eye. What was I saying? So, instead of having less trees that you let get bigger, I'm having more trees that you keep smaller, and I'm just cutting them and pruning, to be to where I can reach them, so that when I get old, I don't have to get up on a ladder and fall off and kill myself or something. I don't know. A lot of when I was working, putting up gutters and stuff, a lot of the people at the company that were older, they said that they used to get up and do ladder work and everything, but once they got, like, I don't know if he's like in his late 60s or whatever, he says he don't have the balance that he used to have. And we went to another man and put up gutters, and he had ladders all on his property because he used to do that kind of work. But now he says he can't do it. He just don't have the balance. And so, I'm thinking about the future, and I figure, why worry with all, just keep all my trees short. They bought the trailer and you own the land. So, you sell them the trailer and rent the land lot or something like that. I know I helped that man move some sheetrock into that trailer, and they had some work to do. Yeah, because the woman of that man, that used to live there before, she hoarded animals. Every animal, she would steal the puppies of my dog, and every animal they dropped off at the dump, and she'd have animals in cages on the porch, and animals in the house, and animals in the yard, and cats on top of the trailer. And it got pretty bad where they couldn't take care of him because his health was failing, and she was about blind. And I know they had their work cut out for him fixing that place up. That's why a lot of people, when they rent, they say no pets, because some people will just, it's just. But it's 1:45 over here. I've I don't know. My death threats have gone down. I haven't been saying, I don't stop saying controversial stuff when I get death threats. But I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird because it's like I almost miss it. Like I ain't trying to get myself in trouble, but it's like I don't know. I don't. I don't know. I'm not. I don't really. I don't know if I like. I don't like. I guess it depends on the type of conflict. I don't want to argue all the time. I mostly want peace. But sometimes I like a good debate, an argument. And I'm not a troll per se, but sometimes it amuses me a little bit when people disagree over an opinion and someone gets so mad they want to kill the other person. I don't know. It kind of amuses me. It's kind of funny to me because I'm like, how are you letting someone disagreeing with you get you so mad? Like, what does it matter? And I guess it does matter a little bit, but it's just, if you have a hard life early on, it makes the rest of your life easy. Like if you've dealt with real problems, little problems just don't matter. They roll off your back, they don't matter. But some people, I think, have never had any real problems, and a little bitty thing will just upset them so much. And it's kind of funny. I don't want to laugh, but you see these videos where people just start screaming at the top of their lungs, like somebody will hold up a sign that says like abortion is murder, and somebody will come over there and kick over their sign, or somebody's like gets in a fist fight over a campaign sign. They're like, somebody puts up a Trump sign, and somebody goes up there and attacks somebody. What's up with these people? I remember when they first started doing all the social justice warrior videos and everything. And there's a lot of people just freaking out. They were they were really upset. And I don't know where these people. I don't know how they get that way. And the algorithms are very dishonest. And it's really obvious that a lot of it's got a progressive liberal bias. And like when they show about violence, like liberal versus conservative, they try to make it look like conservatives are way more violent than liberals. But then when you go and you see, well, how are they defining liberal or conservative? And they're only talking about like economic things and everything. But if you go by party, it changes. If you go by like how much violent crime do Democrats commit versus Republicans, then it's like way more Democrats. But then they have this bullshit scale where they're only looking at economic factors or what political parties in office at the time. They have very dishonest algorithms, very dishonest ways of trying to bend this information to look the opposite of reality, and it's like they used to always make it look like they used to always just lie. They would say 10% of people are gay. And they said it all the time back when there was less than most cities didn't even have 0.5%. And the cities with the most homosexuality was like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and they had like 1.8%. And at school and in the media, people would say it's 10%, 10%. And people would repeat the lie. Then you say, well, look, how many people was in your class at school? And they'd be like, well, 30 people. How many gay people do you have in class? Nobody. And they would still believe the 10% just because they hear the number over and over and over again. And like they say, we're overpopulated, and we've had below replacement birth rates for 50 years. But people would hear it over and over and over again. Like, oh no, we're on, CO2 emissions and everything. And anybody, like if you grow plants indoors and people use CO2 enrichment to make plants grow twice as fast. CO2 is not poison. It's one of your four main things. You need oxygen, you need CO2, you need nitrogen, you need carbon, you need more things than that, but you really need those for life. Hydrogen's important too, but CO2 is one of the big main building blocks of life that you need. And it's really amazing how if people just hear something over and over again, especially if they hear it from multiple sources, they just automatically believe it. I saw this video where people get in an elevator and the people in the elevator are part of an experiment and they face the opposite way, not the way the door opens, but the opposite way. And the person comes in and they feel uncomfortable and they eventually turn around and act like everybody else. And a lot of people have this herd mentality that I don't have, which was why I was like the weird kid at school in a lot of places, because I don't feel pressured to conform to the herd. I never have. Everybody would be doing the same thing somewhere and whatever. And I never followed any fashion trends. I never liked something just because other people liked it. I never pretended to be something because other people were or whatever. And I could be standing off by myself, just like studying an anthill, and I would just be weird. I just wouldn't care. And there's some good things and bad things about that, but I just never really, I don't want to be alone all the time, but I like being alone more than most people. Most people, they don't never want to be alone for a second. They always want to, and even if they have nothing to talk about, they will want to fill the silence with something to talk about. And me, I can be quiet forever and not say anything. Or I can open up to somebody and I can talk and don't shut up, once I do get to talking and just talk. But I go through long periods of time where I'm just fine and content being by myself, not talking to nobody, not socializing. And one teacher in high school, when I changed schools, she was trying to say that she's like, are you antisocial? Are you antisocial? And I wasn't antisocial. I just didn't. The popular group at that school, they wanted me to be friends with them, and they were related to the pastor of the church and everything, but they were bullies and they picked on people and they made fun of people that I was friends with. And they asked me if I wanted to be their friend or the group or what, and I said no. And then they went and told the teacher. Then the teacher trying to say I got that I'm antisocial, or do I got antisocial personalities or something like that. And I just didn't want to be their friend because they were fake and they were mean to people. And I was just like, no thanks. Because they were like, you don't seem like you got any friends. You want to be our friend? No, you know. And I normally when I would change schools a lot of times because my dad was in the Air Force. Then my parents got divorced. Not right away, but about 8-10 years later. And then we just moved a lot. And so I've been to a bunch of different schools. And so when I first go to a new school, I would be quiet and I would listen and I would learn everybody. And then I would start talking to people but I also had a lot of brothers. So I also didn't need to make friends because I had friends. I got along with my brothers. Yeah, I'm with you there, Wade. It's like the reason a lot of television is boring to me. I quit watching TV altogether, but when I was 18 is when I quit watching TV. But uh, probably between 15 and 18, I would watch educational stuff, but not fictional stuff. Because eventually, after you've seen enough fiction, you've seen it all. There's only so many different characters, so many different archetypes, so many different stories, and it's all the same thing over and over and over again. So once you see enough of it, you can predict what's going to happen. You can say, well, this person's, they going to be, there's no surprise anymore. Some, and some of my friends and Brittany, they'll be surprised that I'm able to predict what's going to happen. You just go in and you watch 30, 40 seconds of the movie and you already know what's going to happen. That's so, and a lot of times women like fiction more. It's not always this way, but a lot of boys at school they'll gravitate toward nonfiction and girls fiction, but it's not always that way. And Brittany's like I am about this. She would rather read something that's true. She don't like to really read fictional stuff either. And I used to think that I got to where I was thinking that it's a waste of time. There is a play circuit in the brain. I'm not gonna say it's a complete waste of time, but I get more entertained. Like I enjoy like when I'm out there and I'm planting olive trees and I'm taking care of these things. I see that it has a benefit beyond just me. And I don't know the future. It could be that, I don't know, a volcano erupts out of nowhere and destroys it all. I don't know, but probably not. Probably the oak trees that I plant will be making acorns to feed squirrels after I'm dead. And so, I like, most of what I learn or watch on YouTube is I'm just educating myself to be better at what I'm already doing. And on the property, I'm just trying to improve. I'm trying to make it where as many different animals and plants can live there as possible and feed me as much as possible. I'm just trying to, and that's happened. Since I've been improving the land, I've made there more water available for animals, and I've made more plants and more food, and it used to be almost nothing was out there. You'd almost never see a squirrel. You'd almost never see anything really. But now there's cranes, raccoons, squirrels, deer, and I enjoy doing that more than just watching a fictional show. And I feel guilty. Like sometimes, like if I started really, it got, when I turned about 30, I just could not play video games without feeling guilt. Like I just felt like I was just wasting my life. And same thing with fictional TV. Like I cannot just watch. And sometimes you don't know what people are talking about because a lot of people only talk about fictional TV. But you'll see that a lot of people don't have any understanding of history. And I forget who it was that said it, but they said a nation that doesn't know their history is like an infant. And a lot of people, they get their concepts of what happened in history from fictional TV. And that, I think that's disastrous, really. It allows the masses to be manipulated and controlled, and self-sufficiency essential. I do know that there's never been a time really where people were just all to theirself, completely 100% sufficient, because you really can't do it all. You can't have bees and have chickens and have cows and have goats and have fruit trees and have grain and have fish. I mean, you could do a lot. You really can do a lot. But, like, there's always been trade. There's always been specialization. There's always been this person's really good at this person's good at that. And so I think you need to be as independent as possible, but you need to, it's good to have a team, to have a few people that you can trade with, that you can learn from. And I think it's better to prioritize quality over quantity, because you can't really be a good friend to 100 people. You really don't have the time for it. So I think you should choose your friends wisely, choose your connections wisely. But like you, Wade, and me, we're able to make food and everything. But if everybody was starving, people would gang up and form like warlords and gangs, and they would try to just come in and kill us and steal all of our food, and then not know how to plant it for next year. And just come in and eat all our potatoes. Maybe have you some Jerusalem artichokes that you can cut the top off and still have the food in the ground and then not know about it. Or so eventually, in that type of situation, you'd have to have some kind of organization. You'd have to have, modern man is domesticated and real. It is true. It is like it's like, I mean, that's what civilization does. Civilization kind of turns like the dog is taken from the wolf. And there's a lot of times when we're talking about civilization, we look down on the barbarians, the mud hut tribal people, but there is actually merit to both. There's merit to barbarism and there's merit to civilization. They have different pros and cons. And one of the things about civilization is it does over time breed us to be weaker and dumber and more dependent there. And like if you go to just straight up barbarism, there's it does breed a stronger, I don't know, like, basically in civilization, you've got a class of people that monopolize violence. And they say, you're not allowed to be violent. You have to come to us for justice. You have to come to us for violence. You can't be violent. And over time, it domesticates the population, and they become more and more docile, more and more, like where you really there's a lot of times where I have felt like I would have been justified to get into a fight or do some violence or harm someone over like just personal disputes or things with Brittany or but I have the threat of violence from the law and government. They're like, you're not allowed to, like, this guy really did deserve for me to just beat him. I gotta be careful what I say on YouTube, but I, but I know that I cannot defeat the whole power of the state. And I sometimes feel emasculated. Like I feel like I should be able to fight this, but I should be able to take these matters into my own hands. But they'll put me in prison. Like it ain't worth it, They'll you gotta have some impulse control, some forethought, and think things through and be like, I got a lot to lose, I can't just fight it, But then I feel like they kind of strip some of our manliness and our humanity away by the fact that you got to go to court about it. You got to go to, really I should be able to just, I should just be able to. So, and also sometimes with like, there's certain cops, I feel like, really? Like, what else? We are domesticated. We are being domesticated, and we're being turned from a wolf into a chihuahua. And it's being happened every generation, but there's always going to be the wild ones out there, One day we'll probably, if you haven't already, there's an essay wrote by Sir John Glubb called The Fate of Empires. And it's a very good essay. It's not very long. It's very worth reading. And he goes through the life cycle of empires. And he noticed that basically each generation creates a change. And that change means that the next generation grows up in a different environment. And so you go from very militarized to very commercial to scientific to arts to, and so you start off with like a very poor, hungry civilization. They don't have power. They're hungry for power. They don't have strength, but they know they need to get strong. And they have a lot of vigor, a lot of life, a very strong identity, a very defined culture, a core value, and they have just this, they start exploring a lot, and they're having cultural dominance, they've got a lot of vigor and life to them, and they transition into a very warrior militarized society. And then conquest brings them wealth. And they start being more commercial. They start trading and everything. And nations go from, first they're offensive, but then they've got their wealth, and then they get defensive, trying to just guard what they've got. And eventually they get wealthy enough that they've got a lot of free time on their hands. And this leads them into, they start moving into science and arts. Art is really like the seeds of the civilization. It's like when the flower dies, it's spreading its seed. The civilization is about to die. The art, it's spreading its seed to the other civilizations, But they go from having a lot of wealth, and they start to betray the very values that their civilization was founded on. I'm not going to go, you can read the essay, but they get into just decadence. They get into overconsumption. They get into living for pleasure instead of virtue, and they go into decay, and they start fighting amongst themselves over the dwindling resources instead of opposing the outside forces that are attacking them. And they wind up being conquered. And the cycle just goes on and on and on and on. And if you look, there's another cycle where all the states across the earth are small and they begin to fight one another and get gobbled up by states, and there's bigger and bigger states. And you wind up with two superpowers and they fight each other and they both destroy each other in the process, and it breaks back up into small states and it goes back up into big states. And it's just always a cycle because no one ever takes over the whole world. No one ever learns from history. No one ever really knows history because it's always lies, just like the news. It's always hijacked for political purposes and whatever. A smart community of people specializing in different foods can compete. Yes, that's true. Carolina Country Homesteading 101. Hey. I'm kind of a homesteading channel and kind of not. I talk about conspiracy theories. I talk about politics. I talk about history. I talk about homesteading and everything. I probably should have made more than one channel and have like different channel for different things, but I'll just mix it all together. It's just, but Wade Purvis, he knows a lot about homesteading stuff, and I learned a lot from him. Thank you for subscribing. And mostly I'm a beekeeper. I know about honeybees. I started beekeeping in 2006. And that was like a 3-year period of me not having honeybees, but I pretty much had honeybees from 2006 till now. I got a pond. When I bought the property, one of the dams had broke and eroded and made the pond real shallow, and trees grew around it and filled it up. And it only had frogs in it. It didn't have any fish. All the fish had died, or people used to catch fish there, but there was no fish in it whatsoever. And now I've got it to where I can have mosquito fish and bluegill are in the pond, and I'll subscribe to you. I tried to screenshot, and I've learned it. You can't screenshot a live chat. It'll just show the picture without the screenshot. So sometimes I've told people I would subscribe to them, and I tried to screenshot to look at their name later to subscribe to them, and I didn't mean to. But I'm going to write your name down so I can go and subscribe to you, because I normally subscribe to everybody that subscribes to me. There's only been a few people that have subscribed. Like, one person subscribed to me and I subscribed to them, and then their channel was just way too degenerative, and I was just like, I cannot be associated with this channel, which I haven't really so I unsubscribed from them. But pretty much everybody that subscribes to me, I return the favor and subscribe to them. Some people that subscribe to me, they like me, and then eventually they come across one of my controversial opinions and they unsubscribe. But I always get new subscribers, and sometimes I'll be gaining subscribers as fast as I'm losing them. And it kind of stay at the same amount. Homesteading 101. I'll subscribe to you. I'm not going to stop right now and subscribe to you, but I will subscribe to you later, because I got your name written down so I'll remember. These right here, which I should have had the flower. I should have took a picture. Oh, I didn't plan on even showing it. But this is a flower I grew for the hummingbirds. And I guess they've already went to South America or wherever they go. They go south for the winter. But they just got seeds. I don't know what it's called. I had a mixed pack of seeds for hummingbirds. And of all the flowers, they all grew but a lot of them died. But whatever kind of flower this was, it did really good. It made a lot of seeds. I got a lot more seeds than just these on the table. Here I got lavender. I've already crumbled up the lavender so it don't have the same shape. But this is, see, that's lavender seeds right there. Well, there's a whole pile of them somewhere. I done shook them all up. There's more seeds on this end. They're in here. There's more in here than it looks like. I just don't know where they're at. I was crumbling them up, getting the seeds to fall out. And I was shaking them. See, it's a little seed. Little black seeds. I'm going to give away. I quit smoking. And I was going to give away that tray, but I could use it to sort out seeds and stuff. I might wind up just throwing the pipes away. Had a little short relapse, but then I quit again. Do you have any shorts? I do have shorts. I have videos that are long videos. I have shorts. I have videos where I go live. I have posts. I just left a comment on your last short. Said I just subbed to you. Thank you. You must be in the South like me. Yeah, I'm in the South. I'm in Wheeler County, Georgia, South Georgia. And that's where I've lived mostly. I lived a few years in Dawsonville, Georgia, and I lived a few years in San Antonio, Texas. But I've lived most of my life in Wheeler County, Georgia. That's where both of my parents are from. Like my grandparents, I got some grandparents from Dublin. But really, most of my mama's family's around Alamo in Wheeler County, Georgia. My daddy's family, most of them's from Glenwood in Wheeler County, Georgia. My daddy's mama, her family's from like around Jessup and Ludowici, but then we learned that her granddaddy was originally from Alamo, and then they moved there, and then they moved back. I'm in North Carolina, right off the coast. Well, almost right off, inland 13 miles. Yep, I'm from the South. And there's a man from New York that works at All Pro, and he said, I asked him why'd he come to Georgia? And because I asked him, would he ever want to go back to New York? And he said no. And he said he likes the people in the South better. He said we're friendlier, we're more polite. So I was like, so it's not just like a stereotype on TV, it's like true. And he's like, yeah, it's true, which a lot of stereotypes are based in some truth. That's how they happen in the first place. But he's like, yeah, the people are so much nicer in the South. And then there's a guy from New Jersey, moved in the Baxley area, and he was saying the same thing. He was saying he likes it down here. He likes the people down here in not Wheeler County, but he's around Baxley. And then he was saying, and we will always feed you. Yeah. I tell you, that used to be like way more common than it is now. Like anywhere you went in the South, people wouldn't eat in front of you unless they fed you. But as the economy's gotten worse, it isn't as common. Like you used to always would serve people food and drink, but it's not as common as it used to be. It's still pretty common though. But well, that's good. I mean, probably most people are still like that, but I'm really sad about. There's a lot changing real fast. A lot of people in Atlanta, Georgia are not from Georgia. or if they are, their grandparents aren't, their parents aren't. There's a lot, and then there's a lot of people from New York, New Jersey, from Florida, and a lot of the people from Florida are from up north. They come and retired in Florida, and you just got a lot of people moving in the area because people are, they got the money to come up here and buy up land that people can't, and the culture's changing. They say the Southern accent is dying. Which that's the nature of the world. Everything always changes, but there's a lot of things that are different. Like when I was a boy in Wheeler County, you could see somebody walking with a gun all the time. They might, in case they saw a rattlesnake or something. And now you got these people from New York or New Jersey or whatever, they'll call the police. A bunch of cowards. They'll call the police all the time. A bunch of, just a lot's changing. But it is. I am about to go to sleep probably. I don't know if I'll be able to fall asleep. I'm thinking I might just have to stay up because I don't want to keep waking up too late. I need to. But got a tile job coming up. But I think if I stay on the live, I am starting to get sleepy. I'm not going to really have much to talk about, and I'm going to get tired. And I think I just need to go to bed. But I will go subscribe to you. Let's see, is there a way to channel activity? I'm seeing if there's a way I could just, without having to search for your channel. I think I am going to have to type it into the search bar somewhere. I'm not seeing anything to. But I'll go subscribe to you. If you're a homesteading channel, there's probably a lot I can learn on there. One thing that is, it's kind of good that you're not too far from the ocean. That's something